What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, and today we are here at Brevard College Disc Golf Course, and it's time for another Formwork Friday. We are looking at two different discs. These are the Rhythm and the Drift. Proton Soft versus just Proton. The Proton Soft has a gyro rim. The Proton is just Proton because it's streamlined. Both of these are said to be 7.5 -2.1. So let's see if Gyro actually does anything. I know we've tested this out before with Prism versus Gyro hexes, but I think this might, I don't know, I've never thrown a drift before, so this might give us a little bit more variety because drivers are a little bit more varied. As far as cross section goes, they're pretty similar. This feels like it's slightly more rounded over, but I'm not sure if that's going to make much of a difference here. They're both Proton. They're basically the same thing, and to make the drift, they probably just pumped the Proton into this mold without the gyro rim. Possibly. Don't know exactly what goes into all of that processes. But 7.5 -2.1, flippy, understable, flip up to straight, controllable fairway drivers. Hole number 11. Let's see how far these will go. Does gyro do anything? Let's test it. We're going to start off with the gyro, with the Rhythm, and then we're going to go with the drift. 174 to 175 grams, so pretty similar. Rhythm's up first. Oh, I didn't really stretch. Okay, I'm gonna throw both of these, and then we're gonna rethrow this tee shot. Okay. Now, let's go pick those up and throw them again, and this time let's not hit a tree. All right, take number 2. Hopefully this time I can actually let go of the Rhythm. It is mid-20s out here. Breeze isn't very much, so it's not super cold, but this plastic is a little stiff. Okay, I'm gonna need more hyzer for that versus the drift. That drift is way more stable. And they looked like they were the same disc. Does Proton make it more stable? Does Prism factor make it more stable? Or does Gyro just make it more aggressively the flight numbers? That's what I think is happening here. Jumped all the way over to hole number 5. I know it's not exactly close to each other. We're gonna switch up the order, so drift is gonna go first, and then it's gonna be the Rhythm. We have a head crosswind on this hole. The next hole we're gonna play is gonna have the reverse, more of a tail crosswind. So we're gonna see distance potential on that hole. This one is gonna see wind fighting and torque resistance. Does Gyro give it torque resistance? Does Proton give it torque resistance? Or since it's supposed to be an understable disc, does Gyro accentuate the flight of the disc? I think that's what Gyro does, not necessarily making it more or less stable. I think it just accentuates what the disc is supposed to do, if you can throw it smoothly and cleanly. Let's see, into a headwind. Let's go drift first. You run it over here, should pop up and drift the name of the disc. That held the turn way longer than I thought it would, which tells me I'm gonna need to aim a lot further to the left with the rhythm. Okay, well, the rhythm was a much better throw, and a better throw into this wind actually makes things less stable, whereas the worst throw, the slightly nose up that sailed straight up into the air but held that long, slow drifting turnover, it was a worse release but a better result. So where does that leave us? Let's go throw the tailwind shot, and hopefully we'll be able to tell a little bit better from that shot. All right, 370 feet straight to the basket, wide open in the middle of nothing or everything, depending on which way you want to look at it. We are switching back to rhythm with the T-pad. Drift is going to throw next. I just threw a proton crave and it flipped up almost to flat. So I'm going to throw these two the same way, and we'll see if they get all the way to flat. So another thing is these have dome, which for most MVP discs doesn't happen, more for streamline, but the incredible amounts of dome makes them have incredible amounts of glide. But this isn't a disc review, this is what is straight proton versus proton with gyro do. Drift shot first, or next. Ooh, that's nasty. It's so good, but it's nasty. So interestingly enough, that flew almost identical to the crave. If I remember when I'm editing, Brooke, remember to stick the crave shot that you filmed in right here. Wow, what a tailwind. So you can see that maybe a proton drift is just a proton crave. Something to think about. We've jumped all the way over to hole number 8, and we are going to be throwing a backhand hyzer. We have a crossing breeze, so hopefully these understable discs should help push us over there. But I'm going to just start them on as much hyzer as I possibly can. We're going to see how much they stand up. We're already noticing that the rhythm is flippier than the drift, and something interesting to note is while they look extremely similar, the drift feels just ever so slightly more blunt on the edge. And a lot of times when you make a driver more blunt on the edge, it just adds a little bit extra stability. I'm not sure what causes this, because I don't know if the drift is actually just the rhythm mold and it's 100% proton, or if it's a slightly different mold and it's shaped slightly differently. I could believe both things. I could also believe if they were using the rhythm mold and they just pumped proton in. A lot of times premium plastic cools and changes shape ever so slightly, which is why a lot of times specific plastics will end up with a lot more dome than others. It's because those plastics cool to give it more dome. So whereas gyro doesn't necessarily make a disc more or less stable, I think what it does is accentuates the flight characteristics that the disc already exemplifies. So whereas this has been flipping up to flat and riding and giving me a really nice straight pushy glidey shot, it's not giving me necessarily the -2 because we're not getting quite as much. It's not accentuating that turn, whereas this definitely is accentuating the turn a lot more. We're going to throw the drift first, as much hyzer as you can, and hopefully we can get it left around the bend. Oh, almost straightened out enough. And now the rhythm. Yeah. You see how that one, it flipped up and then it continued to turn? I think the gyro just kind of accentuates the flight path of the disc. So if you can hit it with the proper amount of spin and the proper amount of speed, it's going to accentuate whatever you're looking for. If you're just throwing kind of air bounce, whatever throws, I don't think gyro is going to really do a whole lot for you, because the discs are all basically going to do the same thing because they're nose up. Got to get them flat, slightly nose down, pushing, drifting through the air for them to fully achieve what they're looking for those flight paths. And as we can see, gyro definitely helps the rhythm be a little bit more flippy than a proton drift. Hopefully you enjoy watching content like this. If so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff, especially if you have new formwork ideas, make sure to comment all those down below. If they're really good, might even turn into a video. And make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber-only giveaways. Definitely helps me out as well. And until next time, see you out on the course.